What's up, you guys? Welcome to my workout. It is February the 11th, about 6:30 p.m. Just finished watching the Super Bowl. That was a fantastic game. Very exciting, but I'm out here a little later than I normally like to be. Anyway, I'm going to start my first day of BCP 157 and TB 500 peptides this evening. So the last few days, I've been choosing the exercises that I am really terrible at, mostly because of orthopedic restrictions and also psychological barriers. And I've been making them the centerpiece of my workouts so that I can establish a baseline for comparison going forward with the peptide therapy and some of the other lifestyle changes that I'm making under the guidance of Merrick Health, who I am in a partnership with. They are not paying me any cash or monies in exchange for their guidance and their supplying of some of like the peptides I'm using. I'm going to document on my social media platforms for you guys how this whole process goes, for better or for better, because I'm not expecting it's going to be too bad. So anyway, dips, I used to be pretty good at them when I was younger, but I am now, they challenge me a lot. They are, for me, one of the hardest upper body push exercises, aside from handstand or handstand wall push-ups or just handstands. Okay, so the dips are just hard for me. So that I'm gonna show, I might not even do a dip tonight. I'm just gonna see how far I can get. And you know, I've learned, especially with body weight, calisthenic or gymnastics exercises, a lot of people, myself included, avoid these because they reveal how weak or deficient our systems are, or the holes in our kinetic chain, or the gaps in our armor. Okay, like things like deadlift and squats and bench press, they are very empowering movements. But when I used to, think I was strong in those lifts, and then I would go onto the rings, or I'd go onto a bar, or even just floor exercises that involved body weight, I didn't like it. My ego didn't like it because it would reveal for me how many gaps there were between these strong segments of body parts that I had developed with the conventional lifts. So I'm not bagging on those lifts. Those are foundational. Everybody who cares about any kind of meaningful strength should always invest a majority of their time in those. But to ignore these is, here's what. Sucking at these but still doing them is going to make you better at what you like to do and what you want to do, okay? And it'll also make you more resilient at it, and I'm sure you'll get stronger less. So if you like to do conventional lifts and you just suck a little bit at doing these but you still do it, I promise you, you're gonna get returns. You don't have to do the entire movement. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna get going here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just see, I'm using these elastic bands. A lot of people think I'm doing this for a stability thing, but actually, because these bands flex, they're a little easier on my shoulder tendons because they accommodate any force that my tendons don't want to, and my muscles that attach to those tendons. So yeah, it seems like it would seem to make sense to use two hard, rigid bars to do this, but I found that for my tendons actually doesn't turn out too well because they're so stable that I can enter positions that force my joints, tendons, and muscles into positions that they can get into, but that aren't biomechanically good for them. All right, so once again, all I'm doing is just, I have to earn my ability to descend below this position. Right now, I'm just trying to activate as many muscles as I can. What I'm actually trying to do is press down into these rings as if I was trying to do a handstand on them. I'm activating more of my latissimus muscles, my abs. I'm trying to put the stress of this exercise everywhere but onto the front of my shoulders and into my chest. I also am going to be using a kettlebell to help counterbalance me for this, because it's going to look like I'm doing some weird jaw thing, but the weight I'll be using for my jaw, it is not significant, but where the weight is going to counterbalance me actually helps me to do this. Okay, so the first position, I always like to start in the position of greatest advantage, and I try to move out from there. What I mean by that is my upper arms are internally rotated. My hands are palms down or pronated. And what I'm trying to do is, I'm not just going to jump off these sandbags. I'm going to actually press down as if I'm trying to go into a handstand. That tends to activate my lats. And then from here, I'm now going to see if I can slowly turn the insides of my elbows slightly forward, and I'm starting to buckle. I'm getting tired. So I just rest. I don't normally talk when I do this, but I'd like to share with you guys what's going on with me as I'm doing this. So I might not stay up here as long, but once again, for me, getting tired or kicking my own ass, that is no longer the goal of my workouts. This is a skill. I consider this a skill. For me, it is. And I can't develop much skill when I'm tired or when I'm kicking my own ass. So I just go to a point where I feel my breathing is a little bit impaired, and I start shaking, and I'm maybe feeling tired, and then I come back out. All right, one more time. So I'm gonna stack forward. My intention going into these rings is, as I slowly release myself, as if I'm trying to push myself into a handstand. So I'm packing here, bringing it close to my body, then I'm slowly letting my feet off. And I'm trying to okay. Wow. That is, for me, a full body expenditure. I am not tired in the front of my shoulders. For me, if when I do any kind of dip, even just the top position of a dip, if I'm feeling the front of my shoulders, to me, I'm doing something wrong. I need to, in every exercise I do, figure out a way to take whatever stress or load is entering my system and to distribute it as evenly as possible through as many surface areas as I can. All right. Now I'm gonna attempt what I call a false dip. False dip is this. I'm going to lift my hips up and then try to push out. Wow. That is difficult. And I know, in case you might be thinking, hey man, if this is that hard for you, seriously, a hard dip bar is probably a good idea. And there's something to be said for that, but number one, I don't have a solid dip bar. And I've just learned that those cause more, they give me more a false sense of ability than I really have. And they push me into my joints and ligaments in a way that I tend to regret the days that follow. So even though I pay a lot more up front on this unstable platform, what I get on the back end is a much bigger return. Okay. One more time. gonna go for more rings turned out. And that is just super difficult, so I'm not gonna force that. Now, another thing, there's a lot of pushing, that downward push, it's obviously pretty intense. So what I like to do is come under here and balance it with a little bit of a I don't know if you could hear my right shoulder creaking and complaining at me, but by the way, the grip I'm using in gymnastics, they call it a false grip. It's just basically grab your thumb, and this is called the thenar eminence of your thumb, the meaty muscle right here. I'm trying to support myself on that. And this grip gives me a very strong activation, to the side, a very strong activation of the forearm flexors. If these can flex strong, these will flex strong. And if all that happens, then what's downstream of that, your lats will also be able to flex very strongly. So once again, my right shoulder was starting to bitch at me a little bit, so I'm just gonna pull to a height that is easy to accommodate. Here we go. On those trying to get my head between the rings or whatever, that's not the goal. I'm just trying to work with my system and feel, and just, I don't make getting my chin over the bar on a pull-up, for me, I don't make that the goal anymore. If on a given day, my body or my mind are not into that, I no longer force them to do that. I've tested my character for many, many times over the years that I've been alive, so I don't need to validate myself at every workout by making a certain weight or number of repetitions or range of motion a measure of my self-worth. Sometimes I do that though, but not today. Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead. Once again, this is my actual workout. This is not I should have said this in the beginning, I usually do. This is not meant as a tutorial, instructional, nor a recommendation for you to do as I'm doing. This is my literal workout. This is how I do it. I do 1 rep at a time. I don't do sets of 10 or even sets of 5 or 6. I'll do one movement, whatever I'm doing, 1 or 2 times, but each of those movements might take 20 or more seconds. And then I rest, and then I come back for more. All right, so I'm gonna be putting a kettlebell in my mouth just real quick. I don't recommend you guys doing this. This is what I've been doing for years and years. I've had lots of time to adapt to this and to figure out how to do it. But I'm just gonna show you what I'm doing because for your information purposes only. Okay, so I've rolled this towel tightly. I'm only putting it back in my molars. It is not going across my front teeth. The molars, they go this way. They align with the pull of gravity. Your front teeth, they don't. If you put something, like you bite on something and then you put your head down, it's heavy, it is gonna pull your front teeth forward the way if you were to lean on a picket fence and just crank backwards on it. So these are being placed deep alongside my molars. There's no contact with any of my flat front teeth. Okay, by flat I mean they're like incisors, they're not dice-like molars. Okay. Once again, the goal for me is just to, okay, the reason why I put the kettlebell in my mouth is because the weight of that bell tilts me forward. And when I'm more facing the ground, my chest muscles are facing the ground more. So this becomes a little bit more of like a bench press movement rather than my shoulders being extended backwards behind me type of movement. Right now, my shoulders, they don't really accommodate being extended like this too well. So I use the weight, it's not as a stunt, but I'm using that weight as a counterbalance to my hips so that it'll angle me downward. Okay, we'll go one more time. By the way, this is just a 15-pound kettlebell. I might have to get a slightly heavier one, but then I'm not sure I'll be able to dip too deeply, but that doesn't matter. Oh shit, let's do this right. Don't do what I just did. Always start the bell. All right. Okay. Another reason why I like to use these elastic bands for the rings and why I don't really care about going all the way down and all the way up when I'm using these. I don't wrestle, I don't roll jujitsu anymore, I don't fight at all. But I still use combat as the standard for all of my conditioning. And if you've ever dealt with someone who has what's referred to as wrestling strength, it's a type of strength that's like nothing else, and it doesn't matter how big the individual is. And these bands feel a lot like dealing with a chimpanzee. Okay, when I'm pushing down against them, yeah, a lot of my energy is being wasted stretching them, and that for me is a good thing because my goal is not to be able to do a lot of ring dips or dips in general. I want to condition my muscles and tendons to have the wrestling strength, and this brings that. Okay, so that's just my take on it. Okay, I'll go one more time with this kettlebell. Just see, and I'm trying to angle my chest down into these rings. One more time. Oh, okay. Wow. So, besides my shoulders and arms choking on that, my abs, my left and right oblique compartments, they have to work so hard on that lift. That's why I'm saying the last place I should feel this is in the front of my shoulders or even in my chest. That's where I used to feel these. But now that I kind of hollow body myself, and I do a lot of these principles that I use. There's a guy named Daniel Vadnal of Fitness FAQs. He's on YouTube. In my opinion, he's one of the best calisthenics, gymnastic body weight instructors out there. Check him out, Daniel, Fitness FAQs on YouTube. The guy gives away so much useful knowledge, and he's taught me so much. Shout out to Daniel. Okay, I'm just gonna go body weight. I'm almost done. Like I said, I keep my workouts really short. I just see how much I can develop a certain movement or skill in a rather short period of time, because that's all I can really recover from. Believe it or not, these are really intense for me. And in order for me to come out here tomorrow and practice a different skill, I can't overdo this one. So if I just get a little time on this, I know I'm going to get a good return. All right, here we go. Okay. God damn, that was a rush. It is getting dark. And I have to go finish eating the pizza, so I'm going inside soon. I'm gonna finish, actually, just because I'm in a rush to get dinner, I can't rush that last pull-up. Yeah, no, for me, it doesn't take a lot of those. Like I said, those bands feel as close to me like wrestling another strong human being as I can simulate without another strong human being. So even a lot of the other days, I don't even get that rep. I just get to the bottom and I gotta peel out and that's okay. I never get bummed. I learn more. I always get more out of the reps that I shake on, or that I have to bail on, or that I miss. I get way more out of those reps than 10 perfect reps. So I'm always happy in a way when that happens, and I know if my system truly couldn't handle it and I just had to skip out, then I overloaded the system enough and I don't have to go back and do that again. Maybe in younger years I could and I would, but with my current biochemical and recovery status, that's no longer necessary. Okay, here we go. Just gonna do one. Let's see if we can get one pull-up that's a little better than those previous ones. I don't know if you can hear that shoulder. Maybe it's one of those things that, when something's inside your body, you can hear it in your inner ear. But it was creaking at me a little bit, and it's a good cue for me to let go. Okay, I think that's it. If you're still here, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Aloha.